Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Scrapbook Your Legacy with Carrie. I am so grateful that you are coming back to watch my videos. I appreciate those who have subscribed to my channel and those of you who are liking my videos. I'm having fun watching this channel steadily grow. And my friend and I were talking the other day about my video about the date night that has crazily gone to 93 views. So thank you to all you who are viewing these, and who would have thought that a simple date night video would be at 93 views. So, but that's a milestone and I'm forever grateful. So thank you. Today we are going on an aquarium adventure, and I am using Noteworthy Days again. I'm trying to finish out the month of July. So I've got my pictures here from the aquarium and our lunch at a Japanese restaurant, and jellyfish. Isn't that such a cool photo? I love photographing jellyfish. I love seeing them in an aquarium, not so much out in the wild. And then we saw a little dolphin show. My son and I were playing with faces, reliving some memories. And then while we were there, the aquarium, this is the Georgia Aquarium, by the way, which if you have never been, it is amazing. It's always busy, but it is an amazing place to go. Just the way they've done it is pretty cool. But anyway, they had like these little light shows, you know, like little light displays. So here they had the jellyfish light display in the jellyfish area. And it took me a bit to figure all that out. And then more of us, and then the dolphin show. Now in this one, I did a pocket on the back because that's where my journaling is going to go. So I just used a very thin foam tape to make a pocket. All right, so we're going to do that. So these are the photos. I'm going to bring in the papers in just a minute, but I wanted to apologize because last week my video, I paused it. I paused my video a few times last week, and I don't know if Apple takes issue with that, but it quit. It just all of a sudden I heard bloop, and I was like, oh, what was that noise? I hadn't heard that before. And well, the camera decided like, oh, I guess you're done taping. And so I taped the remainder, but then I didn't know how to splice it. And like I've said, I'm an analog girl that has jumped into a very techie world, and it's a struggle, but we're getting there. So anyway, I wanted to show you the finished 4th of July picnic layout because no one got to see it at the end of the last video. So here it is. And I did change up some stuff. For those of you who watched the video, I had some larger red leaves over here. The 4th of July sign title was up here, and boom firework thing was up above it. And I had more leaves coming out in different places, and I just was not happy with it. And you know, that happens sometimes, right? Like we try to embellish our pages and we're just not sure. And you know, for me, a lot of times it's a process, and I come back and I change things up. So I changed it up. What I did is I took the red leaves out, but I used the skeleton instead. And that leaf punch, this is it right here. It punches out both the leaf and the skeleton. So I put the skeleton of the leaf in instead, and to give a little red. And then I added in, I moved this down, brought the circle of the boom down. And so I'm much happier with it. So I changed up, I didn't change up this one much, but I did change up this one a little bit. I put in the skeletons for the red leaves. I added a few more embellishments of cooking, you know, grilling and picnic stuff to kind of make it fill in with the theme of the other ones. Those were the only changes I made. Other than adding a few stars. So I wanted you to see the finished product if you watched that video, because there's nothing more frustrating than when a video quits and you're like, oh. So there it is. You got to see the finished product with some of the changes. So, you know, mess around with your embellishments, you know, work on them until you're happy with them. That's what's important. All right, so here are my pages for today. We're doing an aquarium layout. I'm using Noteworthy Days, and I am mixing it with the orange gradient. So I've been talking with you about how to mix in other collections in with Noteworthy to stretch the Noteworthy papers and embellishments and all of that. This is going to be a very simple layout. I'm going vintage today. I am using the tag punch, which I forgot to look if this is still available, but it might still be available. I did look out there, and the Greek Key Border Maker cartridge is 50% off. I think it might still be 50% off, which puts it at $12.50. When those punches go at 50% off, that is the time to buy them up. All right, so if you have this or not, this is a punch that I'm using today. I'm using this one because we're going to make vellum bubbles. I've already made them. And then this is an old Crave Memories punch. It's bubbles or confetti, however you want to use it. It's very versatile. Could be a starry sky as well, you know, because stars don't necessarily look like the stars that we have for stickers and such. They sometimes look like dots out there. So this could be a starry night, confetti for a birthday, or bubbles for any number of things. So I think this is over 20 years old. Anyway, so I am using this with the vellum. I've already cut those out. If you don't have small circles, just find like a hole punch and just do the smallest circles that you can. You know, bubbles don't have to be super teeny tiny. All right, here are the gradient papers that I am bringing in, and I have used, let me get these because I'll be needing those. I used the corner rounder for my journal, and I have used the wave trimmer. I feel like this is an underutilized tool, including for myself, I'll be honest. I don't always reach for this, but I did reach for this one. So what we're going to do is I've created this frame style layout. So this blue paper is going to go down, and then here's the idea. I am going to space these out, and I'm going to start out narrow at like 1/4 of an inch, and then I do a couple of them narrow and then widen it as it goes up. I think that's a cool look, and it brings the blue to the front. So that is the plan. And then we've got our pictures. It's not going to be a heavily embellished layout because it is busy with this wave. So we're just going to go along and see. And here's the thing. I don't have vellum sticky stuff. So I'm going to try this pen. I think it dries clear. This is the Precision Point adhesive pen. So I'm going to try to use this with the vellum. Here's hoping it dries clear. So we're going to wing it. All right, so just so you know, this blue paper here is, let's see, did I even write that down? This would be 11 by 11, because I took 11, it's actually 11.5 by 11 is how I cut it. So pay attention to how you cut your papers based on what's on the other side. So I took a 1/2 inch off of this side, and I took 1 inch off of one side. So I would have a 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. So you kind of have to think with math. The dot paper is 9.5 by 11.25. And then 9.5 by 11.25. And then I gutted the middle with a 1 inch border. And then this wave paper is a 1/2 inch smaller. So it's a 1/2 inch off of here and a 1/2 inch off of here. So it ends up being a slightly smaller border up here. And then this orange paper is 10 3/4 by 9. All right, and then I cut it, and I removed one piece. So I cut all these waves, and then I removed one piece. All right, so we're going to start sticking all this stuff down, and I still have to order myself repositionable adhesive because I just have been lazy and haven't ordered it, and I need to do that. So we're just going to go with this regular adhesive. I need to remember all my names. And this blue cardstock that I'm using is a new, it came out with the fall collections, and I think it's called Skylark. Let me see what it is actually called. Songbird Blue. All right, so we were really off on that. It's called Songbird Blue. And I don't know if they're just testing some new ones to see what they might add into their collection. I hope that they make the 2 blues that they took out, that they, you know, premiered with the fall collections as permanent colors. I wish we had a little more variety in the spectrum. So let me just move this over and make sure that I am centered. So I am gunning for this 1/2 inch mark here to line it up. And that looks good, although we are a little wider. So we're going to go down to that 1/8 mark. Yep, and that would be correct. All right, so there we go. And then we're going to put these down. So this is the orange gradient from the orange gradient papers, out of that rainbow gradients. The other side was a polka dot, and this side starts out dark and goes up lighter. So we're going to put these down. And so anyway, when we were having our 4th of July picnic, my nephew was asking around to see who would take them, he and his friend, some places. And actually prior to his friend coming to visit, he was like, "Oh, Terry, you know, what are some things I can do with my friend? Like, where could we go?" And so I'm like, well, you know, we've got the parks here in our city, which are great. But maybe you want to do something a little more exciting. And so I'm like, you know what? We looked up the Botanical Gardens in Atlanta, and they were having a really cool exhibit, which they often do. And he likes going to see those exhibits. So I said, why not, you know, this is what's going on. You know, I pull up video of it so he can, you know, he has a visual. I said, you know, he's like, "Oh, that does look really cool." I said, well, you know, we could do that. Or, you know, if she wants to, we could, now I'm going to split this by 1/4 of an inch and lay that down at 1/4 of an inch. I can't really tell on this end because I'm far removed. So we'll just do that. And then we'll come up by another 1/4 of an inch, if you can even see where it is. So anyway, you know, so I gave him some options. There was the aquarium, because I know he enjoys that. You know, we could do the Coca-Cola Museum, which is right there. And so I just said, you know, why don't you give her some options and then let her pick what she wants to do, because, you know, let the girl pick. And so we'll go up by another 1/4. Okay. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. And then we'll do a little wider on this one. So anyway, yeah, so we were talking through that. So she picked the aquarium and the Coca-Cola Museum. And so I asked my son if, you know, if he wanted to meet up with us, you know, because his cousin wanted to see him. And, you know, so we tried to do that. And for me personally, I really enjoy doing things with my, now I'm going to make this a little larger. I'm going to go up by a 1/2 inch. Here's hoping that the top piece works out about the same. It might be a little bit wider, but I'm going to make this a little larger. Oh no, that's a 1/2 inch. All right, so we're going to go up by a 1/2 and get that laid down. So anyway, so he was like, yeah, you know, I can meet up with you guys, you know, because I told him his cousin wants to see him. And so what I was saying is I enjoy doing things. I try to be very purposeful with my sister's children and spending time with them as their aunt. Not everybody has that luxury, but I do try to do that with them. And I enjoy spending time with them. They are all really neat kids, very talented kids. So I like doing things with him. And so a couple of them have gone on vacation with us. You know, we've taken them to see some of the national parks. And so anyway, so he picked the aquarium, and so off we went. Well, and then at the picnic, you know, his father and I were talking, and he wanted to get a boat on one of the lakes near us. And I was like, you know, I've got stuff going on. His dad had some stuff going on. So I'm like, I don't think, you know, going boating is an option this time. And so then they're like, well, Carrie, can you take us, you know, to, let me make sure I have this. Yeah, let's move it over and line it up. Yeah, that's an easy way to solve that problem of having it lined up across the page, right? Is just to bump them together. And it's not going to be perfect, but we're going to be close to perfect. That's what we try to do, close to perfect. Yeah, I do have it narrower on the bottom than on the top. But, you know, I'm going to have to probably just leave it. If I say that too much, my dog's going to think I'm telling her to leave it. So anyway, I do try to be intentional with them. So anyway, the lake wasn't going to work out. And so I said, well, let's, you know, they're like, can you take us to the farm, which was on a grid layout I did where I had a picture of them brushing one of the horses. So I was like, you know, I can do that. I can take you to the farm and you can, it's not my farm. I said, I'll take you down to this farm and you can brush a horse. Then it was, can we ride a horse? I'm like, no, not riding the horse this time. So yeah, so it got kind of interesting. But anyway, so we went to the aquarium. It was super busy. And they spent a lot of time. So we actually didn't get to the Coca-Cola Museum because my son had to get back home to do some work. And so they were a little disappointed. So we got some funny pictures of them standing near the Coca-Cola bottle cap doing happy face and disappointed face. But I'm like, you know, sometimes that's just life. You know, you got to do one thing. We might not get to do everything, but you got to do something really cool. So, you know, sometimes life does have its disappointments, unfortunately. But anyway, so we had fun. So we decided when we drove down there that we would park at IKEA and that would be a safe place to park. And it's free, and we like free. So we did that. And then my son, who likes to eat at different places, we went to this Japanese restaurant that was just really good. It was really cool inside. Simple decor, but just really cool food. And I say I'm adventurous. I don't think I'm as adventurous as I think I am. I'll just be honest. But I had a really good meal. I had this amazing sandwich, and my son knows I prefer veggies over meat. I'm not a complete vegetarian, but I am careful. And so anyway, so he helped me select some things, and then I got a fun little drink. I tend to do like a mocktail kind of thing, but I had this really interesting, well, like I told you, they make fun of me because I use the word herbaceous. So it wasn't an herbaceous drink, and it was very good. So we did that, and that's where one of the pictures is from. And then we went over to the aquarium and turned them loose because I told my son, I'm like, well, you're stuck with me for the day, which he doesn't mind. And because I don't want to just follow them around and feel like I'm, you know, watching them, because they don't need that. And they had a great time together. It was fun to see them interacting in the car and just enjoying each other watching these shows. And that's what they did. They were on their phones a lot. Oddly enough, even watching the fish, they were on their phones because sometimes they were in the same area as them, and like they were on their phones. But it's just, I guess, how his generation is, and they just love their media and technology. So that's what they do. So it's just kind of funny watching it. But anyway, we had a great time together. My son and I had fun just hanging out and doing things together and watching stuff. And I think we went through it a couple times. So this is what I bought my nephew. I bought him a shark head, so it looks like the shark is eating him. So I thought that was funny. This was the disappointed face and the happy face. They did a good job with that. And there's the Coca-Cola bottle cap with the bottle opener. Cool piece of art, honestly. And they were sharing the shark hat. So, all right, here we go. We got this. So, you know, talk about some adventures you have gone on, and, you know, do you have the ability to spend a lot of time with your nieces and nephews if you have any, or, you know, maybe you live far apart and you don't really get to do that. This is kind of how I'm laying it out, and you can see that too, a lot of that wave gets kind of caught up. But isn't that cool? So let me, I love how this turned out. So what I did for cutting it is I lined up the paper at, let me use like the back of this, because I used this, wait, let me make sure I'm in camera. So my first cut, the very first bottom cut, I did, right, see how you can see the 4, right, here are the, see, there's a 4, then it goes up to 3, then 2, you can kind of see them in 1, and then you can pull this out. This will pull out, it's a little stuck right now. So what I did is I had it at the 4 mark to start with, which is what I showed you right there. So I had it down here to the side. If you move it back and forth, you'll get a different wave cut. So I cut the first one here at the 4-inch mark. And then every one after that, I cut at the 3.5-inch mark, which is kind of under, here it is. There's the 3.5-inch mark. And so that's where I cut the rest of them. I cut them all flush to the, for me, my left side here. So and there's a line that goes all the way across. So I lined up with that. And then I just, you know, cut back and forth and did that. And like I said, I removed one squiggly wavy line to create these spaces. So that's how I did that. So my title for this is going to be Fantastic Day or Fantastic Adventure, a little pun. Haha. That's what we're going to do. But a lot of this is honestly getting covered up, but I like how it's looking. So I'm going to tack down the photos and we'll get the bubbles on. And like I said, it's going to be a pretty simple layout. I'm not doing a lot of embellishing on this one. I'm keeping it simple because I just really want the photos to stand out. And because the photos, like, I went with orange, one, because it makes blue stand out more. And I figured these aquarium pictures are going to look much better on an orange background than on a blue. They would look good on the yellow. And I picked this polka dot because it ties in all the colors in this layout. But the orange picks up on the skin tone, and it also kind of picks up on the stone wall in this restaurant. And so that's why I went with the orange also, but also because of the blues. And like I could have done yellow for this jellyfish, but then this can kind of be orangey. So that's my thinking on it. You know, you want the colors to stand out more, and they tend to disappear on certain colors. So that was the thinking. And this is the Noteworthy paper. These are the gradients. So I like to do a tight grid. And I don't have a cut title for this one. I have to get my silhouette. I've been changing up my crafting space to try to have better light. So I went and got a bigger table, and then I moved my work area under the skylight, hoping that might help. And I haven't turned on any lights yet, so I'm hoping, let's see what happens if I do that. It does not make a difference. I'm hoping that it's bright enough. But yeah, comment below if the lighting seems better to you, and, you know, comment below on, you know, have you been to Georgia Aquarium? And what have you thought? It can be very crowded. You really have to pick when you're going to go. I'm going to do a peekaboo pocket over here. So this will be my peekaboo pocket over here. And let's see, I want to kind of have these on a straight line going across the top. I'll tell you, these wavy lines make it a little hard to see if you're straight or not, but I think we're doing okay. So yeah, you know, do you go to Atlanta? Well, so one time I took my nephew to Stone Mountain, Georgia, and we decided to go we're like, let's go hike to the top of Stone Mountain, Georgia. And then we were going to meet my son at the aquarium at that point too. So I've been to the aquarium a lot, I'll be honest. I'm kind of ready for a break, but I do enjoy going with him. So if he's watching this, I will take you. I will not complain. So anyway, we went to Stone Mountain and I was going to meet my son over at the aquarium. And so we're like, all right, we'll be there in about a half hour. And I was like, why would I be a half hour from, at Stone Mountain? But in Atlanta, it can take you a long time to get somewhere based on the traffic. Once this is down, all right, that's going to have to be, I don't think I can. Oh, all right, it's down. We're going for it. So anyway, I put in Atlanta Aquarium and it started taking me, all right, so mind you, it's Georgia Aquarium, not Atlanta Aquarium. So if you're going to go, don't Google Atlanta Aquarium. It is Georgia Aquarium. I'm telling you this now because I learned my lesson. So we left Stone Mountain and it took us on this long 40-minute ride, 40 minutes outside the city to, yes, Atlanta Aquarium, but it was an aquarium store. Yes, a store for people who have aquariums. So I had to call my son and I'm like, I don't know where I am. I don't have a town name. I have nothing to go on, but I just Googled Georgia Aquarium and we're now 40 minutes from the aquarium. And so I'm like, well, we're just going to have to laugh about it. And here we go. Well, we ended up getting to the aquarium at the same time, the correct one. Anyway, Georgia Aquarium, or you'll end up at a store. So this is what I did for my journaling. All right, I haven't journaled yet because I had wanted to check the date that we actually went. So I cut a tag at 2.5, and then I cut this at 2. Or maybe even 2.25. And if you don't have twine or ribbon, I just cut a very narrow piece of that blue paper and folded it like a ribbon. I'll probably just snip it to even it up. And I'm just going to glue that on. And then this is going to go in this pocket right here. And then you'll be able to reach down, because I use those top loading pages. You'll be able to reach down and pull that out by this little paper tag. So I cut that at I think I cut it. I should have written that down. I have to change over my cutting mat. I cut it on this line right here. Actually, let's just see, just to be sure where we cut it. Yep, so there's the cut line. So I cut it right at the end of the mat over here. That's where I cut it. All right, so I will glue that down, but now we're gonna do, here is my title, Good Times Together. I may cut, I was thinking about cutting Fantastic Day, but I do like how this looks. I do probably need to put it on white, and so let me get a piece of white paper, and then we're gonna just fussy cut it. Because sometimes that's what you have to do. And we're going to see, I am not an experienced fussy cutter, but I have heard people say, who are much better than I am, that you don't turn your scissors, you turn the paper. So we are going to fussy cut this and try to have and see, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm okay with that. It might look a little homemade, but sometimes it is like that. But like I said, I've been changing things up here, and then I need to get my silhouette up and running, and I'm toying with the idea of getting a Cricut, because my silhouette is so old. It's kind of, I can do a print to cut, but it's not as easy. Like I have to, there's multiple steps to it. So anyway, I wanted something that was a little easier, but I don't like having a lot of frivolous things that I'm not gonna use. And some people like to have all the things, and that's fine too. I like to have all the things, honestly, but I tend to just be like, all right, think about what you're going to use, and then, you know, just have the stuff you're going to use. That's just me personally, but, and I don't have space for everything because I am in a corner of a room, quite literally. My corner, I like my cozy corner. It is cozy. All right, so there is my attempt at fussy cutting. I'm sorry you had to watch that whole thing. I probably fell out of camera, but there it is. So that's going to be right here. Good times together, because we had a great day together. And like I said, I love spending time with my niece and nephew. And again, it's different for everybody, right? The further out you get from your immediate family, sometimes it's just harder to spend time. We're going to do that right up here. I want that to kind of lay over, but I don't want to cover up his head. So I'm just going to lay that right. I think that's straight. There we go. Good. All right. And then I did get a couple of fish from the Father's Day, because, you know, the aquarium has fish. This was that Father's Day one. But remember, I told you, you could change out, in one of my other videos, I talked about changing out the mom and the dad thing. Like if your dad likes to garden, then do the gardening and just leave off the pink or magenta colored mom thing. And then if your mom likes to fish, then use the fishing stuff for your mom. So, you know, you just change it up. So anyway, all right, so there's that. We've got this down. And let's see, I was trying to decide if I wanted to put a fish, make sure that stays out, up here near that, and maybe add a couple of bubbles for the fish. I am going to put the fish up there because, you know, we were at the aquarium and it's a little cheeky. That's what we're doing. Being a little cheeky today with everything. And let's put this little fishy up on foam squares just to give it a little dimension, have it stand out. And like I said, this is not an embellishment heavy layout. This is actually a pretty simple layout. All right, so there's one fish, and you know what? This one's facing this way. The other one's gonna be facing that way. And I think the other one well, we'll see. All right, let's get these bubbles going and see how this is gonna work, because I'm not sure how it's gonna work. But anyway, the idea is to weave up, and then I'm gonna weave up this way and over this way. So let's see how this is going to work. But anyway, yes, like I said, comment below. Tell me about some of, we're going to start down here, I think. Or maybe, you know what? I can't remember what I had photographed. Let's just go for it because I can always cut more if I need to. All right, here's hoping that it dries clear. And we're just going to group them. And I may need my picker-upper tool because some of these are small and then they stick to it. There we go, down there. But that picker-upper tool is very handy. We're gonna spread the bubbles out a little bit because they don't always stay together. And we'll get one up under in there. We can always fill in. Okay. So anyway, yes, we had a great time. And unfortunately, because we spent so much time at the aquarium, they were not able to go to the Coca-Cola. And I haven't been to this Coca-Cola museum. I have been to the one at Disney World. And so my thinking is, you know, are you just paying to try the different Coke flavors? Like, I don't know, you know, what it's all about, because I have been to the little Coca-Cola thing down in Disney World. All right, so like that's how we're going to come out from up above. And I may have to cut some more. That's what happens when you kind of snap a picture and then you don't print it to see how you did it. All right, so we'll leave that. But I like how the clear vellum looks. We'll start a little higher here. Do you have a favorite aquarium? I do like Georgia Aquarium. I like Georgia Aquarium because of the size of the tanks, and they've got the whale sharks there, which there's the whale shark, and they have a new shark tank, which is really cool as well. And I love watching the shark tank. And the jellyfish are one of my favorites as well. I love seeing the, oh, get off. The jellyfish moving and floating. I feel like that would be a wonderful way to move around. That's just me. But we've also been to the aquarium up in Chattanooga when our kids were little, and that was a really cool aquarium. They really did a nice job with it. If you go up to Chattanooga, first of all, there's a lot of great things to do in Chattanooga. And I haven't been back since we took our kids, but we really enjoyed, let me bring this one out over here. We enjoyed that city and all the things that we did. I just want to make sure that that's stuck down. And then this one we can bring out from behind this tag. All right, I'm hoping this dries clear and that it doesn't leave these little dots in the middle. You know, vellum is really hard. You know, it's like, how do you make it work for you? So, you know, it's just, vellum can be challenging to hide the adhesive. But anyway, it will be what it will be. You know, I want to put a couple little dots coming out from the fish over here. So I'm going to do that. Oh, get down. Okay. And I just have it. It's going to be a little white here, white on white. There we go. Hopefully it will, I may have to re-glue some of those. All right, so there's some of that. And get some more of these down. But one of the things that made me think about the bubble is that when we were at the aquarium and watching the tank, the big tank where the whale sharks are, you can pay to go diving in that tank. And so these divers were going by. You can go walk on the bottom of the tank. I would love to do that. I think it is super duper expensive. I don't know, but comment if you have done that, because the bubbles, I took pictures of the bubbles, but I just did not, I didn't print any of them because they weren't great, but it was so cool watching those bubbles come up from the divers. And so that's what got me, I don't think they were feeding the fish. But anyway, that's what got me thinking about doing bubbles on this for the aquarium, because I just think that's a very cool thing to do. I'll put another one up here. Usually I think bubbles disperse as you get closer to the surface, but you know, I wanted it to feel a little, I want to get these all down here. One last one, I think I'll fill in over in here. There we go. Oh, get down. So sticky. All right, so there's our bubbles. And I am going to, that's not that cap. This is the cap. Oh, pardon me for that. Okay, that's all set. I'm done with that. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to have this fish down in here, or I may, whoops, I gotta put this on. I may put the fish down here because I think that could be fun to lift that up. But I only have one fish on the page. But I do have a green fish, even though we don't really have green on the layout, but we could put this guy down in here, and I might just do that just to make it a little fishier. We'll put some more foam squares on this fish. But anyway, yeah, I never get tired of watching fish. I find fish very relaxing to watch. I don't have any because I don't want to clean a tank, but I'll go somewhere else and watch the fish. So there we go. We'll put this guy in here, and then it might look like the bubbles are coming from him a little bit. And I'll put this guy down at the bottom of the tag, and it will be a surprise. Probably should have the fishing line going down here like you hooked a fish. Oh, and let's put a dot here so that we get this all situated on this side. And I'll probably need to glue it on that side. Okay. I think we are nearing the end. All right, and I think what I'll do is I might just snip. All right, so we've got the tag. All right, and then that will go in right here. I'm going to fill it out with the date and what we did. But that is our finished aquarium page. So you can see the polka dot paper here with that orange color and the blue, and then this blue from Noteworthy Days, and then this orange that has the speckle down here. And there's that cool jellyfish. So here are the bubbles in vellum working their way up, and then the fish up here with the thing that I fussy cut, the title of the thing. And I showed you the tag, and then some more vellums and that fish. So that was from that Father's Day thing. So the story with my son's face here is that when he was little, like 2, I'm going to say, again, my family is brutal. I'm just going to say, in a good way. We just never forget anything, I'll just say. So when he was 2, we all piled into our teeny tiny little minivan. So there was not one seat left. And I did not know that he was claustrophobic. And we had a blanket, and I was trying to make him behave himself. And I took his blanket from him because he wasn't listening. Big mistake, because then he lost it in the car. And it's a 2.5-hour drive from us because we're in Greenville, South Carolina. It's a 2.5-hour drive. He was screaming and carrying on, "Give me my blanket, give me my blanket." And my husband and I were in the worst place possible. We were the parents driving the car with a car full of way too many people. And so we pulled off the road, got everybody out of the car, tried to calm him down. And he finally calmed down, and we made it home. But no one has ever forgotten that. He has to relive that story at least once a year, if not every other year. And so I had him make the face like, "Give me my blankie." So we were just having fun with that. And that was the last time we ever rode together as a family to the aquarium. That is, with extended family. The 4 of us would go, but no one else would ride with us in the car. That was the decision we made. Never again. And I think they were good with that. Anyway, please comment below if you're enjoying these videos, and let me know what you think. And you can find me here on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook at under the same name, Scrapbook Your Legacy with Carrie. That's where I post all the new collections over on Facebook. And then at Creative Memories under Carrie Wallace. So anyway, if you don't have an advisor, I would love to be your advisor. But anyway, use your, I gave you the measurements for this. I hope you use this. Let me know. Post your pictures, even over on my Facebook page. I would love to see what you're doing. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate it so much. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week. I should be getting back to the Colorado album. I need to do some travel layouts, but technically this was a travel layout because I wasn't at home. We went to Georgia, to Atlanta, to the aquarium. So there you go. Anyway, enjoy your week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.